We are live as we travel the uphill road, coming to you from Black Bottom, #1 Detroit. We thank God that we have survived and now have arrived at the last stop. So Dems, Repubs, Christians, Jews, Muslim, Hindu, and hoodoo you do, why must we compete when we all say that we believe in peace, in peace, in peace, in peace? Well, all right now, unbuckle your seatbelts. You have arrived at the last stop. I'm your host and conductor, Mansa Bey. As we open this session of the last stop, living with reality, truth, and consequences, Israel has launched a strike on Iran. This is a big one. This is total regime change. At this point, what we know is that it has decapitated the leadership of Iran. Its nuclear scientists, generals, ballistic missiles, nuclear facilities, and they say that there's more to come. To what we know is that the United States did help refuel the jets that were flying these missions, these sorties. So the United States is involved with this as well. And as they say, all hell has broken loose over there in that section of the world. And the founders of this country wanted us not to get caught up in wars overseas, away from here, to be entangled into things. Here's a short message from some
place as soon as possible. The neocons, of course, will do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't happen, ever. And if
Press concerns about foreign entanglements aligning with George Washington's warnings.
About the world order, about its rule, about its order.
Avoidance of entangling alliances, echoing Washington's caution against permanent alliances, viewing them as potential traps that could subordinate U.S. interest to those of other nations. He believed such alliances could undermine the nation's ability to act independently. We should focus on commerce and neutrality. Jefferson prioritized free trade and peaceful relations with all nations while maintaining neutrality in foreign disputes. He saw commerce as a way to strengthen the U.S. without the need for political or military entanglements. Skeptical of foreign influence like Washington, Jefferson was wary of foreign powers influencing American policy or politics. He wanted the United States to chart its own course free of foreign rivalries. He believed in pragmatic flexibility. While skeptical of entanglements, Jefferson was not an isolationist. His administration pursued diplomatic and commercial engagements. And he sought to avoid commitments that could limit U.S. sovereignty. Jefferson's warnings were rooted in his vision for the United States as a republic focused on domestic prosperity and liberty, unburdened by the intrigues of foreign powers. And so
So that is so well said there that Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, the founding fathers, so-called founding fathers of this country of America, but maybe its time has just come, to be dissolved. Who am I to say? I don't know. I know of prophecies and stuff like that, and people say that America's going to fall, and the mystery Babylon of the Bible, America does fit that for sure. And over in Iran, now the war is going on. That's definitely a foreign entanglement that not to mention Iran, but Ukraine And all the wars that, you know, America was involved in were promulgated by London. Yeah, London, the British Empire. There was a gentleman that I didn't have him on yet, but I'm going to present him to you, who can explain this much better than I can. And so I leave it to those political scientists to do that. And I'll sort of, like, you know, focus here, kind of stay in my lane, so to speak. And then what is your lane? Mansa Bey A.M. My lane is to inform people who are usually not informed, you know, who do not get this type of information, that we're in an information war. There's the physical war, fisticuffs and stuff like that, but this is an information war. And a lot of us just don't know what we don't know. And so that's my lane, is to give that type of information to you now. And pray that you will spread it out, you know, inform others, so that you not be caught blindsided of what's coming and what's happening right now. There's fires and burning and riots in practically all of the major cities across the country. And it's not a protest. This is called an uprising. This is a takeover, the beginning of the takeover of this country. Its norms and its norms and practices, our norms and practices are going to drastically change. Well, I'll just say it's going to be good news for some, and then it's going to be bad news for others. Not just who, when, and where, or what geographical location. That's difficult to say. But your major cities, you already know, have already done sprung up. You got Los Angeles, you got Chicago, you got New York, St. Louis, Portland, Washington, and soon to be Detroit. And just do some research. It don't take a whole lot. Just Google. Just Google. You got your phone there. Just Google it. Say, telephone, where are they rioting at now? And what cities are involved in rioting now? They have this thing called the Kings, No Kings or something, demonstration they call it, No Kings. And we won't have no kings in America. You know, that's such a, such a silly title. But propaganda, though, see, we got to remember that propaganda that we're being constantly fed. Propaganda, you know. And this attack on Israel, on Iran from Israel, is the big one. They're going for broke. We are in the times that we don't have no time for no leeway. There's no wiggle room now. You know, so whatever you believe or disbelieve, you better get right with whomever you need to get right with. Mama, daddy, God, brother, sister. But first of all, I guess most important is get right with yourself. I'm your host and conductor, Mansa Bey A.M. This is The Last Stop, living with reality, truth, and its consequences. This clip is from a master political scientist.
Would you, unfortunately, and I really do mean unfortunately, Alex, Trump has fallen into a real trap, and from all sides. He did not get out of the war with Russia and Ukraine. He got involved in the war with Iran on the side of Israel. Judges are blocking all his decisions in the United States. Illegal immigrants are starting a civil war. And this time with a core of Latin American radicals via California. The Democratic Party is going to overthrow him tomorrow during this all-American action, No to the Czar. The European Union does not give a damn, only pushing Trump to support the terrorists in Kiev. And even his loyal friend Elon Musk will now think twice about whether it's worth making peace with the president, you know, and what are the consequences of this peace. And so,
you're saying, and I respect you,
This is scary what you're saying. You're saying Trump's in trouble.
I'm saying that the way if we extrapolate what we're seeing right now, because again, when the uprising began in Los Angeles and then it spread to New York and everywhere else, I mean, we've been there, we've seen that, we've been there before. We're talking about the Black Lives Matter, Antifa crowd. We've been there before, and and so in the face of this civil war, you can forget about this big, beautiful, terrible, whatever you want to call it, bill. But Israel's strike on Iran, and I'll get to Trump in a second. Trump's helplessness, Trump's confusion, the split in MAGA, where the overwhelming majority is against Israel in general and against Christian Zionism of these neocons, truly pathetic, and I'm all for Trump. Trump still has a chance, but here he needs to act decisively and take power for real, and not all of this, talking nonstop. We've been there, done that, we've seen him talk, but we need action. Suppress the internal opposition with a strong hand. Leave NATO. Stop supporting Israel. Stop this endless supply of weapons, intelligence, money to the Kiev terrorists. Annex, Canada and Greenland, because if you do Canada, you're pointing at England. Okay, make peace with China. Publish the Epstein list once and for all. Put Lindsey Graham, a terrorist, under Russian law in jail. Okay, shoot George Soros and his son. Get rid of these people. Will he be able to do that? I don't know. But this is what Trump promised. He was elected to do this. Okay? If he can't, Alex, okay, I'm going to predict what's going to happen. He's finished. In fact, if he can't, he's guaranteed to lose Congress in 2026. Then he will be impeached and then most likely killed to make an example for all the rest for the future, that if anyone in the future decides to actually do something in the name of America, God-flag country, they will be punished terribly, okay? Because I think most people have forgotten about JFK. So they're going to remind us with Donald Trump, except they're going to kill him in the way that nobody will ever want to die. I hope that's not true. I want to be wrong. I want you to call me a conspiracy nut. Unfortunately, as you know, may not be much everything but the point is that America's, in other words, Trump's America, number one enemy is not Russia, it's not China, it's not Al-Qaeda, it's not Iran, it's not Taliban, it's not ISIS. America's number one enemy is London, okay? The collapsing British Empire. They are the biggest America's enemy on the planet. Anywhere you look, it's London's hand behind all of these operations. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I have a doctorate degree in political science. Let me just show you what I mean, an example. Okay, you have the war between India and Pakistan. Who's behind that? Obviously London. These are two nuclear powers. You have the situation in Ukraine. Who's behind Zelensky? Who's actually leading and doing all this stuff? It's actually London.
Well, they admit it. I mean, they admitted Starmer leading the whole thing.
Of course, if you look at Latin America, I know we talked about Monroe's Doctrine, but before Monroe's Doctrine, London was there before. Now, we'll remind everyone that Simón Bolívar, El Libertador, before he became El Libertador, the Liberator, he was an agent of the British Empire. If you want to talk a lot of the African countries, London is behind that as well. If you want to talk about the Middle East, who created these kingdoms, London is behind a lot of that stuff as well. If you want to talk about the drug trade, actually, how does the drug trade run through Hong Kong? Using, needless to say, London. It's a joint operation, China and London. That's why if you actually go to Hong Kong, most of you have been there, the two biggest towers in the center are HSBC, that's the Rothschilds, and the Standard Chartered Bank, that's the Baroos.
Okay, all this is, by the way, for people that are ignorant, this is all mainline, indisputed facts, you're saying.
Let's not forget about Canada. Kash Patel said that 99% of fentanyl comes into the United States from Canada. Canada is part of the Commonwealth, okay? That's also London. Now, let me give you a couple of other examples. Who is behind what we're seeing right now in California? People are saying China, for all kind of stuff like that. Actually, who controls the Mexican drug cartels? London controls the Mexican drug cartels. So if you look at all of these operations, London's hand is clearly visible. Now, why are they doing this? What's at stake, Alex, and you and I have talked about this actually 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, okay? I want to remind everyone that at the end of World War II, the leaders of the winning nations, the Soviet Union, Great Britain, and the United States, Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt, they sat down in Crimea, in Yalta, okay, to decide what the world is going to look like post-World War II world. And now we're in a situation where we're going to need Yalta 2.0, And for this Yalta 2.0, you're going to have players who are going to sit at this metaphorical table of history. So who's going to sit at this table? You're going to have Russia, you're going to have Putin, China, Xi Jinping, India, Modi, the world's biggest democracy, the United States with Donald Trump, although Trump is a nominal president of the United States, as we're seeing right now, because America is not a united country. It's a divided country upon itself. There are two Americas at least. One America hates Donald Trump. They're going to try to get rid of him tomorrow. The other America loves Trump, and we're talking about a coup d'etat that could take place. And
by the way, that's the official Democrat Podesta plan, is to have blue states secede to sink the country financially and then drive Trump from power. They are literally trying this starting tomorrow.
Alex, in my 2017 book, In the Shadows of the Presidency, okay, published in the United States, a book about Donald Trump, I explained the oncoming civil war, okay? And so the idea is, needless to say, who is behind the Civil War? Also London in many ways, shapes, and forms. And so when Trump won, okay, you had Trump and MAGA on the one hand, you had part of the Silicon Valley military-industrial complex, some of the intelligence agencies, but on the other side, the enemies of Donald Trump and MAGA people, you have the Democratic Party who moved their base of operations from New York, because that's where the money is, to Brussels. So you had Democratic Party of the United States, you had European Union, you had London as the center of this perverse British Empire, you had NATO alliance, you had Paris, you had Berlin, you had Brussels, you had the intelligence services, MI6 and CIA, you had the global Freemasonry, you had the Soros clan, you have the Clintonoids. These are the enemies of Donald Trump, in fact, the enemies of humanity. And so at this metaphorical table of history, you're going to have Russia, China, India, the United States representing nominally by Donald Trump, okay? And there's only room for one more. Now, Europe is not a player. They have nothing to offer to the world, okay? In fact, Europe is going to be divided into 3 different blocks. And so that leaves London. But London has nothing to offer because their elite basically has no ideas. They've been bankrupt intellectually. But London's presentation card, Alex, is I am death, I am destruction, I am war. And so they're saying basically to all the other players, or you let me sit at this table of history to decide what the rules of the game of the future world order are going to be like, or I'm going to destroy the entire world, us included, but you are not going to sit at this table of history without me. And so this presentation card, I am death, is what London has. And that's why Donald Trump better understand quickly. And people are saying, now Israel is America's enemy. Obviously, Israel is America's enemy. But who's behind Israel? Historically has been London. Okay?
The Rothschilds created Israel.
Obviously. So we understand that, you know, the Israeli intelligence, all kinds of control files on American politicians. We know of that. But behind Israel is London. So if you want to change the... And until Trump understands that, I'm going to again extrapolate what I said earlier. If he doesn't get it, what's happening right now, because he's between a rock and a hard place, nothing, all this stuff, what we're winning, you're not winning anything at all. Because the global elite, after getting over the shock of you winning the presidency, and it took them a couple of months, then they figured out exactly how to get to you. And they've been able to do it very, very successfully. Mr. President, you're surrounded by traitors. The two people who absolutely must be in your government are Steve Bannon and Mike Flynn. They're not there. Why aren't they part of your government? These are the only people you can trust. You can't trust Marco Rubio. You can't trust these people as far as you can throw them. If you want to survive, and I mean physically survive, and live out your life, okay, with your beautiful family, get rid of these people and realize that you're surrounded by traitors. There are lots of people like Alex Jones who love you, and will do anything in their power to make sure that America stays strong. But you gotta help. You gotta understand who your enemies are. And unfortunately, Mr. President, you're not very good at doing that.
That is an ongoing issue with Trump, is that he brings people in, like Pompeo, and then figures it out later. I mean, Pompeo was openly working against flags as well. They've been programming that.
Trump needs to focus on getting internal issues resolved with. Get your house in order, Mr. President. Worry about everything else later. Okay? You have enemies and traitors in the midst. Get rid of them first. You can't fight a two-front war. You can't do that. Get rid of the enemies inside your country. Otherwise, your country will be divided into several countries.